I was struggling with some pretty debilitating depression that was starting to get impossible to ignore. I had been investigating and studying healing arts techniques and modalities and all of the cognitive behavioral therapy, tapping, sound baths, everything in order to find relief for the debilitating depression that I was experiencing, which had no foundation in my current life. There was no reason. It wasn't like I had an external, obvious cause for feeling so unhappy. For about 5 years, all I did was represent in these workshops, and I never actually received or set up a constellation to look at my own family system. A man came from Germany who had studied for many years with the founder of the work, and he gave a 3-day workshop. And I went to this workshop, and on the 3rd day, I received a constellation that changed my life in a way that nothing had ever changed my life, ever. When we set the constellation up, the answer was presented. Not just presented, it was like a wave of transmission, of clarity into my body. I was never the same again once I got a glimpse of the hidden dynamics behind my struggles. The experience that I had in that first workshop was coming to meet for the first time that I had a father, and that father cared about me on a basic existence level. And he was glad that I existed, which was something I didn't know. Because I had never met my father, it didn't occur to me that that was a problem. Like, it just was an absence. It was a not there-ness. And you only think about what you know. And so when it became apparent that not having a father had an effect on my life, I was shocked to discover that had not even occurred to me. And then it became so apparent what I had lost and what I had never gotten by the absence of that energy. I had no awareness that somebody cared about my existence to that degree. And nobody can care about your existence more than your parents. And we look for it everywhere in other people. And we seek the validation, that primary infant love from other people when we can't get it from our parents. For whatever reason, maybe they died, maybe they had to work, or they just weren't able to look us in the eyes enough as an infant. Or maybe they got divorced and just were gone, which was my case. He was just gone. My eyes looked for him everywhere and then forgot what I was even looking for. And then the constellation actually enabled me to energetically meet him for the first time. And I'll tell you, what I learned was that it's nearly impossible to live without a connection to your father on some level. And so the constellation revealed something I had forgotten. And as soon as that happened, I reconnected to something that had always been inside of me, which was a love, his love for me, which was my own love for me. And so that stabilized my life in a way I'd never experienced in any other modalities. And it's kind of outrageous how quickly that happened. There was no going back once that was out of the box. It was just like, oh, it's a complete visceral shift in awareness and perception. And setting up a constellation doesn't necessarily guarantee that those shifts will happen, but it is more likely to happen than any other modality I've ever experienced.